Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we have to dive into a VOD review between a scrim from Team Blossom, formerly known as Team Shiny, and Full Send. Now, there have been Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to be diving into a VOD review of a scrim game, just a single match between Team Blossom, formerly known as Team Shiny, and Full Send. So let's go ahead and break down the teams. Obviously, the meta's shifting around a little bit. We're coming up on some big tournaments, and yeah, things change. Patches happen. Characters get released. We have a Azumarill coming out tonight, so definitely be sure to look at the channel. We're going to be streaming later on this evening, so depending on when you're watching this, we'll have an Azumarill stream, or it already happened. And yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Some Team Blossom's going to be playing the tank role. Is going to be Wigglytuff, with that bottom trio being Wiggly, Pikachu, and Hoopa. Pretty solid trio, that lane that we've seen. Lucario still dominating the top lane. Blastoise jungle. Beautiful. I do know the build. We'll talk about that in just a second, but I saw this coming. The rapid spin, it honestly is probably good enough to see some play, so I'm pretty excited about that. As for Full Send, they're going to be rocking the trio lane with Hoopa, Ninetales, and Wiggly. Solo top lane Lucario with Decidueye jungle. Now, Decidueye has been a really, really good addition to the roster. Honestly, with Duraludon nerfs, Decidueye has climbed even further up in viability, but I'm not gonna lie, I think that the Blastoise jungle kind of counters it. So let's go ahead and take a look at this game. And I chose this game specifically because they did scrim for quite a while. I chose this game specifically because it's not just a clean stomp from Blossom's side, and I think that it really shows some cool things. Now, the build for Blastoise, Rhinne's going to be rocking the eject button. That helps with like eject unite moving, so kind of being able to position and kind of almost extending the range of it. But the build itself that he's using is not the damage build that I was playing, but he's running Energy Amplifier, Focus Band, and Buddy Barrier. So he's going with, he just wants team fight burst, right? Like, you have to look at the build, and it's sometimes in this game there are characters where it's like, this one build is the build that the character plays. And other times, I think that you have to look at what the goal of the build is. And I think that this is one of those times where, yeah, you could run Muscle Band to get some good auto attack damage, but you have to know that that Muscle Band's not really doing anything for you when you're team fighting with Rapid Spin. Or you could run something like Choice Specs that will add a little bit of damage, but maybe not as much, as still being tanky with the Focus Band, the Buddy Barrier, and still being able to bring a ton of damage with the 20% damage increase after Unite moving on Energy Amplifier. So I see the very clear reason that he's running this build. Focus Band keeps him tanky, Buddy Barrier keeps him tanky and his Buddy Barrier, so he's nailing that defender all-rounder style. And instead of relying on something like a Choice Specs or like a Muscle Band, he's relying on the damage coming from Energy Amplifier. And I think that that's a really solid way to look at it. Energy Amplifier, in my opinion, has always been a pretty solid item. It's just really, really niche, but I think that we might start seeing it step up a little bit here in the meta. I've been messing around with it on Zero Aura, and while I don't think that that has a ton of potential, not yet, we'll see. So first Beast comes down, and honestly, with Retsu being level 5, he dives the hell out of that back line, and Celestial's not really able to stay alive. The Decidueye can't really stay alive, and Rhinne, insta-backing. We see this a lot in competitive. This is something that can actually be done in solo queue, so keep this in mind when you're playing your own games as junglers, where you want to go back and farm your jungle as fast as possible. So you can potentially get a third rotation, get yourself closer to level 9, and really manipulate the experience in jungle in a way that is guaranteeing that you're hitting some of those levels. So successful bees, that's great. That's a really, really good thing to have. But we're also seeing him just starting the second rotation, and we'll see what he decides to do with his time. He's going to go ahead and finish that up. Water Spout again. We already know the build. Rapid Spin, Water Spout, really, really strong. And we'll see how he moves himself forward. So, all right, back in top lane, lots of time, hits the level 7, so now he's got full burst. Early game on Blastoise when you're running this build, or like Squirtle, Wartortle, is not that strong. It's just really not that great, but you know, now that he's got the rapid spin, you have the full ability to kind of make some things happen. So bottom lane, very, very push forward. Look at this. So we can already see that he's going to go for a cutoff kind of initiation here. He starts the rapid spin, go ahead and ejects in. That's another reason why it's really good. You can extend, you know, that potential to make sure that you're getting really good value out of that water spout rapid spin. And while it does look like the focus band pops, but he's going to most likely go down here, they're behind right now. And I think that, like I said, this is a really good opportunity to show how maybe Blastoise might, in this build specifically as well, maybe not be the strongest pick that you can have early game can really bring a lot to a team fight. Because again, I wanted to make a big note about how I think that this build specifically is, in just the way if you look at it, you think about it, specifically geared toward team fighting. So this early phase, this is the phase that they have to survive and do their best in. If they can win the early game with this kind of a build and this kind of a team comp, that's even better, right? Like that's crazy strong. So third rotation, like I said, sacks the 720Bs, is hopefully buying a little bit of time. He's trying really hard to get the level 9, but sadly, it just takes too long, right? Decidueye Unite move is coming down. This is like half health. Let's see if he has any potential for a steal. He's trying to get himself there, pops the Unite move, and unfortunately, he can't do it. So this is, like I said, one of the games that I picked from their scrims that I was watching because of the fact that they're behind. I want to show how strong this team comp can be, as it comes back. But full send, they push forward a little bit. They can't fully dive on this because they won a lot of that fight early on, and Rhinne was able to stay alive. The Blastoise was able to stay alive long enough for his teams to kind of come back and refight. So any kills they get here on the side of Blossom, the side that we're watching right now, any kills they get is catch-up experience. It's really strong. So Rinne's going to go ahead and base. Fourth jungle rotation's coming up. Look at the timing here, min-maxing and using his time properly. Lucario is in that top lane, so still getting a lot of farm. And this is the competitive meta, is to not over-prioritize Rotom. We've known this for quite some time, but just for the sake of saying any new viewers are watching, or if you're wondering why, they're farming. They're holding that bottom lane. The junglers are going back in jungle rotation. And when there's things on the line, like when you're playing seriously and you don't want to throw your game, you don't want to be overzealous and like hard commit resources to like say 4 people top to try to force the Rotom when you really just don't need it. The Rotom is more often than not something in competitive play that can just be dealt with. Like it's going to give them 20 energy, but the teams can either kill it or they can use it in a unique way to like break their top goal to get more farm. So all right, we're seeing a little bit of a scuffle here now because the opposing team, Full Send, has decided to put a little bit of resources in here. Retsu's going to use the Unite move, and Blastoise, Rhinne is going to do the same. So now they're being very aggressive. They want to finish this fight if they can. The Unite move coming out from the Ninetales, and he's just trying to back him up and push him if he can. So this engagement actually didn't go so great for them. They I feel like they got a little bit split here. I feel like Retsu was kind of like on Rotom. Rhinne was kind of like diving backline. Now they're going to get overdunked, 26 points, 28 points, whatever it is, on the top lane. If they do decide to break it, it looks like they're kind of deciding on whether or not they want to break it. The Ninetales sitting on the goal and just like holding it and waiting a little bit, probably because they might be Hoopa uniting at the bottom fight coming up soon. So Ninetales gone ahead and uses that. I wonder what the wait was for. I wonder what their comms were like on the other team. And Rhinne is back in jungle, just getting as much experience as possible. This back cap right here is because both teams have Unite move for Hoopa. So Lucario can sit there, Unite move from Hoopa. You see the Unite move from Hoopa. Rinne's trying to get a Unite move really quickly. He's probably telling them, hey, be careful, be safe, kite backwards. He's coming in. He wants to see what he can do. He's on the backline on Celestial. Celestial's going to be shooting out that Unite move. And so while Celestial does get a lot of damage down, he's not able to stay alive. And now Rhinne has a Unite move, and he's going to be looking to pop it here. The damage goes down. He doesn't quite have his ability to jump into Rapid Spin just yet. So the enemy team is going to go ahead and get that. But you can still see that even though they're not getting the objectives and they're kind of in a sense losing the game, their team fights are really strong. 4 KOs for Blastoise, for Rhinne in the jungle, and all they have to do is kind of keep themselves in the game and find their way to the end game. So this team comp in general, I feel like, if I'm being honest, I do feel like it kind of counters Decidueye. So any kind of competitive like advances that Decidueye might be making in the meta could be being countered by this potential pick or this potential team comp. So we may see a rise of Blastoise jungles or some kind of just like something that can do a lot of damage, but is also a little bit tanky as well. So maybe more all-rounder jungles, something like that, but we'll have to see. So 3:05 on the clock. Oop, my recording got a little messy. 3:05 on the clock. They're really struggling. So we know that they're losing by over 100 points, and Retsu's going to get a back cap. The Lucario in the top lane, that's good. That actually closes the gap, hopefully a decent amount. They might be normal struggling now. It's hard to say, but they get that back cap. The Pikachu going to use the last ultimate that it can use, the last Unite move. They're going to go ahead and kill Bulby, and so they're trading bottom lane for top pressure, right? They have to trade something. So the 40 points go in. It's probably going to be like a 39 overdunk, you could probably estimate, or at least like a 20-something overdunk. Rinne's got to zone out the Decidueye because they can't really afford to let him steal. So you can see them stalling that out nice. Retsu holds the damage there, so good comms. So they trade out some points, but ultimately they're either on probably the high side of struggling, or they're really struggling. I'm not exactly sure, but we know that they're losing, right? We know that points wise they're losing. They do have a little bit of pressure in top lane, but honestly, Decidueye shreds objectives, so they kill the Rotom. So the Rotom is pretty negligible outside of just getting like, you know, some extra energy to carry. So we'll see how this team fight happens. They have every Unite move except for the Pikas, which they're min-maxing. You can see Rhinne leaving that crab there, and unfortunately, their tank player Faz on the Wigglytuff goes down. So now, Rhinne having to step forward. They don't want their Hoopa to fall down here. They have to like extend this fight out while pinching inward, and Rhinne, in a really nice position, uses the eject button and the Unite move to go down, puts out some damage, and we'll see what he decides to do. He's diving the backline. Look, this is the goal here. He wants to, you know, use what resources and damage he has to start turning this fight around, and they're doing that slowly. We have Faz is back alive. He's back in the fight, and they've just stayed alive this whole time. So a fight that was very, very one-sided looking was extended by the additional bulk and the damage that a Blastoise was able to bring. He was able to bring a bunch of damage to the table, but he's also hard to kill. You know, he's an actual defender that's running 2/3 of a defender build. You know, all he needs is like a score shield or, you know, something like that to have a full defender build on, but he's running a damage build with the energy amplifier. So they have full 500 points on their side. Whether or not they score it all, they have it in the pocket that they could potentially score. And Rhinne, this again, look at this fight. This is what I wanted to show off right here. Look at this damage that he's doing. He is just damage Blastoise while being tanky. So my damage build, honestly, this may be more optimal just because, yeah, it might not put out the same damage, but it's actually much more applicable to the character and the ability and the need to stay alive. Look at this damage. This is post behind the fact. This is the fact that he's level 15 now and that he's consistently just doing damage, going crazy. And we're going to see the damage numbers. That's the end of the game there. But damage Blastoise in the jungle, or a version of all-roundery, tanky, damage mix Blastoise with Rapid Spin, it's the real deal. Like I played it in the jungle, and sometimes you'll get a comment here and there that's like, I don't know, it's like kind of troll, but no, it's really, really strong. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. They were able to close out that team fight, and that's what I wanted to show, how they were behind. They macro played really, really well as a team, and then he drops 80k damage. So I've had games where I've done 100 something K damage, and yeah, that's cool, but it's mostly just the damage numbers that I'm bringing with muscle band, because I do get muscle band damage earlier on. But this is like tanky, does really good damage in the moment, in the burst, and then closes out a game. So there you have it, friends. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for future Unite content, future competitive focus content. I love watching stuff like this. This is super, super fun. It's Blastoise jungle maybe entering the meta seriously. It's Blastoise jungle to counter Decidueye maybe, because it's a little bit more tanky. Either which way, it's really fun to watch. So friends, as always, be sure to be kind to one another. Tell someone you love them, and I'll see you in the next video.